Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second panel in this four-part panel series focused on the Massachusetts Data Science Workforce Challenge. For those of you who joined our panel in December, welcome back. For those of you who are newly joining us, it's really great to have you here today. And please be sure to check out our website, datascience.edc.org, to view the panel one recording, as well as to access other information about this initiative. As Kirsten said, my name is Sarita Pillay. I am Director of STEM and Workforce Success Initiatives at Education Development Center, and we are really thrilled to be sponsoring this event with our partners, the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center and the Massachusetts Biotechnology Education Foundation. Together, we have really developed a series to address what we feel is a critical issue impacting the biotechnology and data science sectors that are so vital to our state's economy. So I want to sort of briefly go over the overall purpose of this series, which is really to inform and generate awareness amongst a broad multi-sector group of leaders, which I think is represented on this call today, on four key topics around which each of our panels is framed. The first being the nature and work performed in data science and the types of jobs that exist within that field, which we explored in our first panel in December. Secondly, the role that existing state education and workforce policies can play in supporting an early stage, which that is a high school, community college, on four-year college data science initiative. And we'll be hearing more about that in our panel today. Third is really the central role that that kind of an early stage initiative can play in expanding both the long-term size and diversity of the future data science workforce, which is really central to this initiative, broadening participation in that workforce. And fourth, EDC's role in securing over $2 million in federal funding for early stage data science initiatives that can, in collaboration with the work of our partners, provide really a major new platform for growing the state's data science workforce. So that's sort of the overall arc of these four panels. After each panel, we will be producing a brief that summarizes the high-level key points generated by the panel discussions, and those will be posted on our website. I want to point you again to the website, datascience.edc.org. And at the conclusion of the panel series in the spring, our last panel is in March, we want to convene a small working group that will really sort of distill the knowledge gained from these discussions in order to develop a strategic, programmatic, and funding plan for what we hope will be a really systemic, sustainable, and scalable early stage initiative that will create a robust pathway for growing the size and diversity of the data science workforce in Massachusetts going forward. And we hope that many of you will stay connected to that initiative and contribute to the efforts of that working group as it evolves in the coming months. Again, please go back to our website to see how you can keep in touch with us. We're really delighted to have our moderator for today's panel, Wade Blackman, with us, who joins us in his capacity as District Counsel for Congresswoman Catherine Clark. Wade will introduce our panel, and he'll be posing questions to our panelists, to which they will respond. The panel will be followed by an opportunity for our panelists to respond to questions from you. So please do type your questions into the chat. Our staff will be keeping track of them, and we'll pose them to Wade and our panelists during the open Q&A that will happen at the end of the discussion. And really looking forward to a productive, generative conversation today. And with that, I will turn it over to Wade to get us started.
Good morning, and thank you, Sarita. I'm really excited to be part of this panel, and I think everybody's really going to enjoy what our excellent panelists have to share with us. Some of this has been gone over, but just kind of as a belt and suspenders approach, just going to kind of continue on one more time with the housekeeping. We have four panelists, great panelists, who will introduce themselves in a moment. They'll respond to several questions that I will be asking about specific education policies and related programs. And then from time to time, the other panelists will also kind of jump in on that question to add, and elaborate on them. As mentioned, audience, you will be on mute throughout the program. However, please at any point do submit questions through the chat feature. Rebecca, as mentioned, will be here to present those questions at the end of kind of the formalized question presentation that I have prepared. As mentioned, we will post links to the policies and programs discussed at the beginning of the chat or at the end of the chat. So please, if you are supposed to be submitting those, please do. And if you're looking for those, let us know and we will make sure that we make those available. As mentioned, there will be a recording of this and that will be available at datascience.edc.org. And certainly please go to there for additional related resources. And again, as mentioned, we have two goals today to kind of talk about the high quality early stage high school, community college, four-year college policy initiatives and programs that are designed to provide a comprehensive array of sustained supports for a wide variety of and wide range of underserved students, and to suggest opportunities for newly emerging data science curricula and certification degree programs to be incorporated in these policies and program initiatives going forward. So, and now I would like to introduce our great panel. And Liz, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us about yourself? And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, Elizabeth Bennett. I am the new Associate Commissioner in the Office of College, Career, and Technical Education at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about innovation pathways this morning.
Great. Tom? I'm sorry, I went off. Bob, you're next.
Bob LePage, Assistant Secretary for Career Education in the Executive Office of Education, and I will be talking about early college and dual enrollment this morning.
Now, Tom.
I'm Tom Sanacandro. I'm the director of the Massachusetts Association of Community Colleges, and we work with the 15 community colleges across Massachusetts.
And lastly, but not least, David.
David,
I'm afraid you're on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay.
David Cedrone, Associate Commissioner at the Department of Higher Education for Workforce Development and STEM. I will be talking this morning mostly about STEM Starter Academy, an initiative across the 15 community college campuses.
Great, thank you all. And Liz, we're gonna get right into it. And I know that you're new to the position, so we will be as gentle as we can, but
I appreciate
again, thank
that.
you for being here. Really grateful to have you. So, over the past few years, the state has taken several steps to develop new comprehensive early stage career pathways programs with more robust academic programs and support services to kind of reach these underserved students to pursue their career interests through higher education opportunities. And, I was just hoping that you could provide kind of an overview of DESE's Innovation Pathways Initiative, just kind of elaborating on the goals and number of schools that are involved and the higher eds that's also involved.
Sure, thank you, Wade. So the Innovation Pathways Initiative was launched in 2017 as part of the High Quality College Career Initiative, which also includes early college. And they're really designed to create strong partnership with employers to expose students to career options that will help them to start to develop the knowledge and skills they'll need in their chosen area of study before they graduate from high school. So really getting that exposure before graduation. And the goals of the program are really to contextualize student learning, engage students in their high school experience, and lead students to meaningful careers in industry sectors. And the programs are in partnership with our local Mass Higher workforce boards and employers to provide a broad exposure to chosen sectors. that are not occupation specific, but again, more sector based. The pathways are aligned to market labor demand in manufacturing, information, environmental life sciences, health and social assistance, in business and finance. Students take 2 technical courses at least and 2 college level courses. Hopefully the technical courses will lead to industry recognized credentials, and the college level courses can be AP, IB, or dual enrollment courses. The program also, another great piece of it is it includes a 100-hour work-based learning experience, and this can be an internship or a capstone with their industry partner. And overall, there are 99 pathways, currently 38 that are new in the spring of 2020 in 42 schools with 36 across districts, and right now over 4,000 students reached.
Great. Anybody want to add anything on that? Or we, okay. But please, other panelists, feel free to just jump in if you have things you'd like to add, and I won't encourage you to do so for the rest of the program, but please do so on your own. So now I would like to shift and kind of discuss the guiding principles and kind of the core characteristics that are part of the guiding principles that have been met by each of the currently funded projects.
Sure. Again, really the goal is to expose students to both technical and college level coursework at the high school level. And again, using that broad sector alignment as the boundary for that. And through those, that's done through the 6 core components. One is advising, where students are really getting an exploration in what they think they may want to do in the future. They complete college career interest surveys and also complete a college and career plan. The curriculum is focused on careers, again, with strong labor market demand. The instruction is integrated, so again, it's both college and career, and it's aligned to their college and career plan. Students have that opportunity to participate in work-based learning, an opportunity to progress towards earning that industry recognized credential or college credit in the post-secondary linkages of dual enrollment courses and work-based learning experiences.
Okay. And one of the pathway sectors is the environmental and is within the environmental life science. I'm just wondering if you could share some of the key features of that life sciences area project.
Sure. So there's 16 environmental and life science IP programs currently. Students that are engaged in this, they're learning things in the biotechnology field where they analyze and develop and provide solutions to environmental challenges. These include alternative energy systems, pollution control, sustainability, natural resources, just to name a few. And they're exposed to career pathways that specialize in research and development and manufacturing activities in the fields of biopharma, medical devices, diagnostics, digital health, again, just to kind of name a few. Courses could include things like principles of biomedical science, forensics, nanotechnology, AP Bio, AP Environmental Science, AP Chem, AP Statistics, AP Calculus. So you can see there's a wide range there. And again, they have this opportunity to complete a 100-hour capstone. And we have students working with local companies like Novartis, Biomed, institutes, the Life Science Career Incorporation, Amgen, and A Biomed.
Excellent. I will just editorialize briefly and say the idea of AP calculus is a little bit frightening for me in my background, but glad to see that other students are pursuing it and taking advantage. And just finally, why don't you, kind of tell us some of the success stories that you are aware of, within those partnerships between the community colleges and the 4-year institutions.
So again, the program's just in its 3rd year in this connection with the colleges across the state, the community colleges and the 4-year institutions is new, and this is definitely an area of growth. I know, students in Worcester are engaged with Quinsigamond Community College, taking courses, but this is definitely an area, and when Bob talks a little bit about early college, I'm sure he can expand on this, but this is definitely an area of growth for innovation pathways. The dual enrollment piece is not, they do not have to have a dual enrollment partnership. It can be either AP or dual enrollment. So the dual enrollment piece is an area that we are continuing to grow.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
And now, Bob, you're in the hot seat here. So again, thank you for being here. And we're just going to jump right into it. But the governor and the Secretary of Education have been real champions of, kind of the growing efforts to provide our many underserved students with stronger career pathways to higher ed. And, I just like to, kind of discuss this dual additional, policy initiative with, early college and the dual enrollment. And my first question is, would you, kind of explain to our audience, what that early college initiative is, goals, who's, and I just kind of expand a little bit, I think, on what Liz gave us, but, how many high schools are involved, and kind of go from there.
Sure. Thanks for having me today. I'll just start with a little bit of a broader perspective. As Liz mentioned, in 2017, we launched both early college and innovation pathways to complement the pathways that have already been available in vocational programs, what Massachusetts calls Chapter 74, as well as Perkins programs. And the general goal was that we were looking at how we could support students to be more intentional in career decision-making through MyCap and our local districts, and then more intentional in thinking about the courses that they would take that would prepare them for a career, inclusive of the courses of study that they might take in college. And in the Commonwealth, now only about 20% of students are engaged in pathways. And part of this is what parents and industry have been requesting, is having students informed and families informed so they understand what their investment in time and resources to achieve college success are going to provide them as opportunities to be employed here in the Commonwealth. And certainly, this is part of the broader initiative, ensuring that we close our skills gaps in the Commonwealth to ensure that our employers have qualified applicants to be successful in their careers. In the case of early college, it's the program is currently in place with 23 programs who have been approved by the Joint Committee of Higher Education and Secondary Education, the ECJC. It includes 35 high schools who now have students enrolled. It includes partnerships with 19 higher ed partners. And last year, it served approximately 2,500 students and has awarded about 20,000 college credits. It's particularly focused on ensuring that students are having success in math and English so that they are college successful. Those are gateway courses that often signify students' likelihood to persist. And they, as noted, early college programs, as Liz mentioned, require deep college and career advising and a post-secondary partner to ensure that there's student exposure to campus and campus life, so students really understand what it's going to be like to be a college student, have been to campus, have participated in activities in that campus. Ultimately, the goal is that will ensure more students succeed in college and complete their degree and the course of study that they select. One of the outcomes we think of early college will be students being informed to make course of study or deciding on a major when they arrive at college, because we know students who have their major as an intentional decision often persist and complete better. And so some of this is a strategy to enhance equity, in ensuring that all students feel they're college ready and increase the number of students who complete.
Unmute. There we go. Sorry, there was some reason I could not unmute. So great, and now kind of moving forward along that, kind of what are the design principles, for the applicant high schools and respective higher education institutions to kind of get this funding for their proposals?
So the higher ed partner and the secondary high school partner have to have a memo of agreement to define the roles and responsibility to provide the services to that student, inclusive of college and career exposure, career counseling, achievement of a minimum of 12 college credits, with a preference that those college credits are inclusive of math and English, but certainly those college credits have to fit the state's transferability agreements. The proposal process requires it to be a joint developed program, and it has to be inclusive of all those elements, inclusive of things like transporting students to campus, ensuring alignment, ensuring that barriers to success of additional academic supports are in place on both sides.
Can I jump in there, Wade? I had trouble removing my mute the first time around to address some of the early college advantages. One of the challenges I think we have, particularly when we're looking at low-income students and students of color and trying to get them into these high technology fields and computational fields, is to have them see themselves succeeding in that, as well as having them understanding what college is about and seeing themselves in college. So one of the big advantages of early college that Bob talked about in reaching equity is to allow these students, one, to understand what college is about, because if they're first generation, they have no experience with that, so they can see, oh, this is what college is about. And then they can actually be successful in a college course, and they can tell themselves, well, oh yeah, I think I can really do this. That, I think, is the real magic of early college and getting students through this process, and how we really can move to move Massachusetts forward in a more diverse workforce.
If I could add to that too, I think having students actually be on the college campus is important too, as part of this experience, because it's not just about the coursework. And as Tom said, it's really about these students seeing themselves as college students. So being on campus really adds to that.
Great. And along those lines, I mean, we know the program's relatively new, but, why don't you, it certainly seems promising. It certainly seems like early returns are, kind of well received. And, I'd like to hear, Bob, if you could kind of tell us some of the highlights, where you've seen this kind of higher ed and or business relationship, that have proven successful.
So there's a lot of great programs that are up and running, and a lot of programs that are building those partnerships. Certainly there were early adopters who I think are further along, like Bunker Hill Community College and some of its work within Boston at a number of schools. And there are certainly other programs across the state. I guess I would give this story just to give context of what we should be looking for with success. And that was the opportunity to go meet with students at Holyoke Community College, along with Secretary Pizer and Lieutenant Governor, and do a roundtable and sit down with those students. And it was amazing the number of students who were in that program at Holyoke High School, who were first generation students, who were very candid that they were in the program in most cases because an advisor or a teacher had intervened to confirm to them that they could be successful in a college career. In most cases, those students noted that they were the first person in their family to even really be considering to go to college. And in most cases, they really indicated it was because somebody took the extra time to engage them individually to explain their potential. And certainly there was one student that told the real story was, I'm here because my mom told me I need to be here. But it was amazing to hear them talk about how over just the first year of a multi-year program, they could now identify schools in their region, inclusive of public and privates. They could talk about the 2 or 3 majors they were thinking about and explain to us the courses that they were going to take in high school that would ensure that they were ready and they would be of value when they got to college. And I think it's really those individual stories and those teachers who participated that day who talk about the growth of those students and the confidence of those students, because that's ultimately what we're after, is that significant impact on the individual to strive for higher achievement and succeed in higher achievement. So there are many examples of that across the Commonwealth. We have programs in every region of the Commonwealth at this point, and it's really now about scaling and increasing our number of students participating and adding additional program capacity in the coming years.
Right. And, you know, just kind of shifting to the dual enrollment initiative, which has been around a little bit longer, or I guess significantly longer, you know, kind of why don't, you know, anything that we haven't discussed on that and, you know, kind of that you would like to add, and kind of, you know, any, you know, kind of metrics or kind of benchmarks that you're seeing in that program that would be particularly insightful to kind of show us the valuation of it and how it's working.
Yeah, so dual enrollment, just so to frame it for everybody, dual enrollment allows a high school student to enroll in college courses through a local partnership with an institution of higher education. And it allows that student to make a self-selected course as approved by their counselor and as approved for readiness by that higher ed partner. So it doesn't work in early college in cohorts of students. It works on an individual course decision making. And there's roughly 7,000 students who are involved in college and dual enrollment programs. The Commonwealth supports those through the college and dual enrollment program line item to support the public institutions in that work. I guess I would just hit, the goal there is to allow each student in the partnering districts to make decisions. And one of the things that I would just note that is new this year that we are doing through the support of some of the original CARES Act dollars is a program to expand access. Because I think one of the keys about availability of dual enrollment is trying to get it available consistently in as many communities as possible, right? And to break down those barriers of access, whether it's transportation by using hybrid models or remote models, being able to think about more strategic ways to support students with tutoring or counseling. So this year is the first time we've actually launched a pilot program around remote college dual enrollment. It was particularly timely given the pandemic. About $1 million was allocated out through an RFR to 18 programs to now look and say, how can we deliver college education delivery different through CDEP? And I think long-term, what we want to do is make sure that as many students who have a desire of taking college courses as part of their high school program of study have access. And people often ask me, why is that important? And it's really part of the goal of the Commonwealth is ensuring we have a workforce, because what we know is studies show if students are taking college level courses and take 2 or more college level courses in high school, and as Liz mentioned, those could be dual AP courses, AB courses, or dual enrollment courses. If they do that, they are much, much more likely to then go to college and persist in college. So dual enrollment is a very important tool that is often not understood of what's the impact. The impact is back to equity, impact of success in college. It becomes a tool. I think when we talk about strategies, that is somewhere in something like data science, where thinking about how we could get wider distribution of key courses is a really important dialogue, because finding qualified faculty in some specialty courses is a real challenge around the Commonwealth. And that's where I think, as we try to be more strategic on ensuring all students have access to courses, new delivery modalities like the remote CDEP strategy is going to be real important for the Commonwealth.
Great. Now, is within the dual enrollment initiative, is there a particular program that you would kind of highlight as a model to others to follow, or, or one that you'd like to kind of bring more attention to?
Yeah, I think I would probably go sector. Certainly the community college sector is the most actively involved in dual enrollment, probably representing 75% of all students enrolled in dual enrollment. On a headcount basis, there's probably 2 or 3 that have been very active. I think Middlesex has the highest number of students enrolled in dual enrollment, usually annually, with about 1,000 students. And one of the things I would note about dual enrollment is dual enrollment has in fact grown into a strategy for bridging students between college. That's an important part of what's happening, is the exposure to college success. And as Tom said, even if I'm a student taking a single dual enrollment course, the colleges are working to make sure that that student is also getting communication from their faculty or part of students on how to enroll in college, making sure they're doing things like completing their FAFSA on time, understand an application process. So there is more and more support for that college taking student. It isn't necessarily just enrolling with no intervention. There is much more intensive engagement of students than there was maybe 5 or 10 years ago in dual enrollment courses.
Right. So largely, just to kind of clarify for me, just kind of a strong demystification of the process in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that it's a part of the immersive. If you were to think about the opportunities for something like data science, part of the question as we think about data science and we talk about information technology options in the Commonwealth, starting to be able to look and say, is there a data analysis course available to every student in the Commonwealth, right? Well, one strategy to do that could be through dual enrollment, right? How do you use dual enrollment as a methodology, just as we've tried to look at things like computer science through expansion of computer science AP courses or intro level CS, computer science 101 or 111, depending on your code at your college campus. Part of it is building that footprint for intentional decisions. And availability and access is the key to all of it, right? We can get students interested, but we then have to make sure that they have access to those programs.
Excellent. And that kind of dovetails with my final question for you. Is there anything kind of you want to add to what you were saying, but just kind of want to give you the magic wand and kind of ask your suggestions, for those opportunities to explore within that, kind of newly emerging data science curricula and certificate programs?
Yeah, again, I think that the community colleges are doing a lot of work of talking about how they can share instructional capacity to create access in their community. If we look at the great work that Bunker Hill, for example, is doing with having instructional capacity in that area, one could look and say, how do we more systematically share that across the Boston metro market, not downtown Boston, but the Boston metro market, to high school students, or even further across the Commonwealth to college students or high school students. Versus the theory of change that might have been 3 years ago, which would have been, how are we going to try to find a process to identify and train X number of professors and X number of teachers in data analytics and teaching, right? So there's a scalability that's going to be different going forward that might not have been, it might be one of the few positive impacts of the last year was the adoption of new teaching strategies and student support strategies. And I think the community colleges are particularly nimble at deploying those kind of strategies. And there are other examples of things that they're doing like that already, of sharing students effectively or sharing cohorts of students effectively. But it might drive to scale the workforce much faster than would have happened historically, right? Because the barrier was all this infrastructure and this delivery modality that may not be constraining our economic development around data science that it might have in the past.
Well, I'm encouraged to hear that there was some educational kind of positive that emanated from this. As a parent of young children, it has been a challenge. So I'm glad that at least our older children are benefiting, and certainly as we kind of continue to produce those pathways. So now, Tom, speaking of Bunker Hill and speaking of community colleges, Bunker Hill has developed a new data analytics associate's degree program, thereby, playing a leading role that Bob was talking about in kind of helping the state's life sciences companies to develop, a sustainable education pathway, and, kind of just making larger opportunities for more and a more diverse number of students to enter these careers. So I'm going to ask, given the growth of the fields of the data science, data analytics in the state's life sciences companies, can you envision, kind of the MACC collaborating with interested parties to explore expanding, kind of that degree program to additional community colleges, and, how might, kind of that happen,
Right. Thank you, Wade. First, absolutely, the Massachusetts Association of Community College could be your single point of contact to the community colleges. And I want to talk a little bit about who our students are, what our colleges are, and how that all fits together and how we fit into this whole conversation. So first up, yep, we are the contact to the 15 community colleges. As you already know, we have the 15 community colleges are spread across Massachusetts, and we have 136,000 students in the community colleges system right now. And to put that in context, if you take all the undergraduate students in the University of Massachusetts system, all the undergraduate students in the state university students, and add them together, you'll get the number of students that are in the community college system. The majority of our students are students of color. To put that in context, we have more students of color in the community college system, the undergraduate students in the University of Massachusetts system. So we are representing the majority students of color, majority low income students. And when a lot of folks think of college students, they don't think of our students. The average age of our students is 28. Many of them have families, and many of them are working and have the family responsibilities. And so a lot of our students end up to be part-time students because of that, because they have the other either financial obligations or family obligations. When we're looking to diversify the workforce, the community colleges are the place. And when we look at the changing demographic of Massachusetts, we're seeing the big growth of students of color across Massachusetts and the population growth, as well as the large growing Latino population. Those are our students. So it's critical that those students have this opportunity. And if you're going to diversify your workforce, we're the place where that can happen. One of the things is that the community colleges have been referred to as democracy's colleges, giving everybody, thank you for smiling at that, it's really the place where we give everybody the opportunity to higher education. It's affordable, it's accessible, it's nearby, and it's high quality. To talk about how this work looks at the data science, one of the things that we've been working with the Executive Office of Education, the Secretary of the Department of Education, working specifically with Bob LePage about addressing the workforce needs in Massachusetts, which would include the data science. We have a position now within the Massachusetts Association of Community Colleges to look at workforce needs and to work across the Commonwealth and to work with the Secretary's office as well. Some of the work that the executive office has done and Bob has done is create a portal. This actually did come out of some of the things that occurred during COVID as well, a portal for entities actually looking for healthcare professionals. And how that can be used is, one, people looking to get healthcare professionals can go to this portal, jobs. What that does is it shows colleges and students where the jobs are, because we know they're real jobs as they exist in the portals. So colleges can then change their curriculum, add classes, and students can come in and say, where the jobs are, what courses should I take to be successful? So we have a lot to offer at the community colleges, and that's where the action is, I think, in this space in Massachusetts.
Excellent. And you kind of touched on kind of the different demographics within your students, but I want to hear. I hope that you could tell us more about the relatively new kind of trio student support systems that have been implemented across the 15 community college campuses, and kind of what that entails.
Sure. The student support services, this goes back to some of the things that Bob had talked about earlier, is when you're talking about first generation students, students of color, students with disabilities, even LGBTQ students that may not feel like they fit in, or they may not even understand exactly how colleges work, how to be successful, how to navigate the complexity of college, what it all means, how to talk to your professors, that there's a real need of support, of someone to mentor them or to talk to them, whether it's a peer mentor or to say, if you're running into trouble, this is what you do, to give them that guidance. One of the things that we've seen is with these differing populations, it's not just the money or financial aid. These students really need help to be successful. And I know from my own kids, when they went through college, both my wife and I are college educated. When they had problems, we could help them. We could guide them. We could, help them even in college selection and everything else. And whenever they had problems, we were there to help guide them. First generation students don't have that ability to do that. They need that kind of support somewhere else. The program that you mentioned, the Success program that's being rolled out this year, as well as TRIO programs that have existed for a long time under the federal government, provide those types of supports. Those types of supports, we're not just saying it seems like it would be successful. We know from the research that those programs are tremendously successful. The premier model is the ASAP program coming out of New York City, but it occurs all across the state. And we even have the same success rate in the similar programs here in Massachusetts. So it's this program, and this year it's actually been funded by the budget with the help of the governor's office, the secretary's office, and the department. We got $7 million to fund this program. The expectation is we're going to be able to serve, at least in this first year, 4,500 students in this type of support program. We believe that's really going to improve graduation rates and success rates as we move along.
And then along, one of the programs that is federally funded is the Expedited Associates to Masters A2m Biotech Collaborative between Middlesex and Northeastern. It provides scholarships and internships to students. Now, is that, one, could you kind of talk about that program, but also, would it be a potential model for, kind of for scale for other institutions to?
absolutely. What this program is, said Wade, it's federally funded. And what it is that you start at Middlesex Community College, you take a specific course requirement, you automatically can transfer with the proper grades, you can automatically transfer into Northeastern University, and even so, and then get a bachelor's degree and even get an expedited master's degree. So this is a fantastic model. If you think about it, it goes back to the same sort of early college model, right? That I can be successful in community college, but that success in community college can bring me all the way up to a master's level to be really that professional student. I think one of the things this shows in higher education, we talk about articulation agreements, and unless you're not involved in higher education, you have no idea what an articulation agreement is. An articulation agreement is, if I take a class at a community college, that class is going to count somewhere else. It's going to count at Northeastern, it's going to count at a private college, it's going to count at University of Massachusetts. So I don't have to duplicate efforts. So we've done work clearly over the last number of years, the last maybe 5 to 10 years, there's been tremendous work done between those articulation agreements for individual classes to make sure that they transfer to the state university, to the University of Massachusetts system. There's lots of work that's been done. It's been highly successful, so students can just move through that program. We're rolling out the same type of program with our private universities throughout New England with the same type of agreement. So this is, I think this is really exciting, but the end result of this type of work is to move students through that pipeline to have them ready to work appropriate credential that they need. We know that the data sciences, at least now, really they're requiring like a master's or bachelor's degree. But one of the other areas is to look at what are the jobs that really to be done in these industries, and is an associate's degree maybe enough to do some of those level jobs and free up the more credentialed folks to do different jobs as they move ahead.
Great, thank you, Tom. And just a reminder at this point, I've been following the chat, but please submit your questions to the chat if you have them, and our panelists will get to them shortly. Rebecca will be asking them. So please do that. And now, David, last but certainly not least, Associate Commissioner of Workforce and STEM for a number of years. It's certainly a vital role and central role in designing and assessing the strengths and weaknesses of workforce and career prep pathways, particularly for kind of those underserved students that we are trying to reach. I'm wondering, if you could just kind of give us a broad overview of the Department of Higher Ed's STEM Starter Academy program by, kind of telling us.
Hey, Alan, can you come take him?
So going on from there, just, why don't you talk about, kind of the STEM Starter Academy and, kind of who's involved in that, the community colleges, the four-year institutions, and kind of that what I find particularly interesting, that case management system that kind of has been a focus of it.
Sure, thank you, Wade. I hope, as I've been listening to my colleagues, I hope that I will be building on many of the comments that have come before me. STEM Starter Academy is a program in collaboration between the Department of Higher Ed and our 15 community colleges. The action always happens at the community college level. We always say at the Department of Higher Ed, we don't educate a single student at the department. That is done at the college level. So this has always been a very close partnership with all of the community colleges. I would suggest that you think of STEM Starter Academy as a platform. This began in 2013. There was a recognition that we were going to need a stronger, a larger, more diverse workforce, and we wanted to make sure that all residents of the Commonwealth had access to these emerging, developing, exciting, rewarding careers represented by the broad title of STEM. So the notion was community colleges, as Tom and Bob and others have mentioned, that it is the entry point to college for many students. Now, clearly, a number of students come out of our K-12 system, go directly on to four-year institutions. But for many students who are from underserved, underrepresented communities, community college is that first touch point for a college experience. And we wanted to make sure that there was a program that was recruiting them into STEM, raising awareness of the opportunity to pursue STEM education at the community college level. So it's about that outreach and recruiting, and we do that in close partnership with our K-12 partners in each of the geographic regions of the state. It is about support services. So we help students who may not be quite ready. We help them academically with support services to get ready to pursue STEM programs of study. We work with them to retain them. As Tom mentioned, many of our students are adults. They have lots of challenges in their lives. There are lots of things that can cause community college students to get disconnected. And so we work very hard at that notion of retention. And then ultimately it's about bringing them through to completion. And completion often is defined in different ways. The ultimate target is an associate's degree, but it can be a specialized certificate. In many cases, our community college students transfer on to four-year institutions, in some cases before they have completed their associate degree, but that's still very much considered a success. So it is this platform. It's mostly about support services and a sense of belonging, I would say, are the two major themes. It's that ability for students to identify with other students like themselves who are pursuing STEM education. It's to recognize that STEM is a possibility for them, even though they might not have had those exposures in their life before entering community college or had limited exposure. It's about having access to all of the resources at the college. So STEM Starter Academy doesn't supplant resources that otherwise are provided to students, but we bring a particular focus on STEM. We make sure that our students are aware of how to take advantage of the rich set of support resources that are at the colleges. And oftentimes they're not. A first-generation student, as Tom mentioned, may not have people guiding and advising them as to how to take advantage of certain services. And that's a lot of what STEM Starter Academy does. So we recruit, ready, retain, complete, and another major focus of STEM Starter Academy has been evaluation. When we started this program in 2013, I knew we wanted to demonstrate evidence of outcomes. So we have been conducting a rigorous evaluation of the program from the beginning. We have a rich set of data, which always strikes me that might be an interesting resource for students who might be pursuing data analytics to have a look at the sets of data that we've collected over the years about STEM community college students in our own analysis. So evaluation has been a key, and we will be in the next month or so issuing a report on the year 6 evaluation. We are currently in the 8th year of implementation of STEM Starter Academy. Scale has been very important. We know if we're going to move the needle on the workforce pipeline, we hear this from employers regularly, that there are large numbers of students, large numbers of workers that are in demand. So we have served up to this point through the 6th year of evaluation, 30,000 students. In the 8th year of the program, we're probably pushing 40,000 students at this point. So pretty significant numbers. And we are seeing strong signs of SSA participants outperforming their peers on a broad set of measures that we evaluate in terms of student success. Most significant of those may be that we're seeing that Black students are achieving what we call positive outcomes at twice the rate of their peers who are not participating in STEM Starter Academy. You raised a question about case management. That is a recent innovation of STEM Starter Academy. Through the data a few years ago, we were hearing anecdotally from the campuses about the wonderful experiences students were having, but frankly, it wasn't showing up in the data. As we dug into that, we realized that students were participating transactionally in services offered from SSA, but maybe not consistently over time as a coherent end-to-end program. So case management has been instituted to engage students, a subset of students, as they enter the program, and really make that commitment that we are going to follow them through to the achievement of their intended outcome. And we check in with those students at a minimum twice a semester. If a student, for whatever reason, personal reasons, has to stop out from community college, we will continue to stay engaged with that student to try to help them in whatever their challenge is, get them back re-engaged. We're making sure that they understand how to fully take advantage of the resources. So we talk about the difference between access to services and actually students accessing services. We recognize that many community college students may not know how, or may just simply not feel comfortable approaching certain support services. And being part of this community, being part of a community of peers, having the support from faculty and other members of SSA, and doing that regular check-in, we're really following them on what we refer to as a through line from the time they enter the program until the time they transition either into the workforce or on into further higher education. STEM Starter Academy is fundamentally a community college program, although in the last couple of years, we've begun to institute a 2 to 4 year transfer bridge, transfer academy, we're referring to that. So we recognize that on the front end of STEM Starter Academy, we have a summer bridge where we help students make the transition from high school into community college, get exposure to STEM, get exposure to all of the resources at the college. And then similarly on the back end, we're helping students make that transition from community college into 4 year STEM programs, and ensuring that they are successful in that transfer, and they stick and will progress further to the ultimate goal of it, for many students, of attaining a bachelor's degree. I'll pause there. It's probably a bit longer than you needed.
No, that is a good answer, and kind of allows me with my follow-up. I assure, although my video is not there, I may have broken my video, but I am here listening, and we're trying to get that sorted out so everybody can see my joyous face. But until then, so just kind of elaborating on two of the things that you mentioned. You talked about the upcoming report, and I know that I believe there was a 2020 July value and impact report as well. If there are any highlights, from either upcoming or, whether it's analytical, anecdotal, et cetera, with either of those, and, kind of then taking those and transferring, you mentioned scale as kind of one of the kind of opportunities, kind of take that and, kind of what would be the magic wand opportunity for you, like to kind of take it to that next level?
Sure. Well, it begins with scale. And that was a principle when we designed SSA back in 2013, was that we knew that if we're going to impact the pipeline, we had to be able to do this at more than a individual small project level. So we launched STEM Starter Academy at all 15 community colleges simultaneously back in 2013. All 15 colleges have participated all along. As I say, through year 6 of this evaluation report, we have served 30,000+ students and approximately 5,000 a year. So we're at this point in our 8th year of the program, have served about 40,000 students. We believe we have to be at that level of scale to really have the impact on the pipeline and getting a large enough set of students and a diverse population of students entering the STEM workforce. 50% or so of our population are female, 50% or more are students of color. Those are percentages that are very different from what you will find in the STEM workforce. So we believe that this represents the building of a pipeline of students who are representative of the Commonwealth, representative of the future of the Commonwealth, and we believe that pipeline is moving forward into our four-year institutions and through and into the workforce. We are seeing quantitative outcomes. So I mentioned the measures of recruiting, readiness, retention, and completion. Those are our positive outcome metrics on the way to attaining a degree or transferring. 64% of our students are achieving positive educational outcomes that outperforms their peer groups. In particular with Black students, we are seeing that they are twice as likely as their peer group to achieve positive outcomes, educational outcomes, as a result of participating in SSA. There are lots of other data points embedded in the reports to come, but I think those are some of the highlights.
If I can just jump in there, Wade, I just want to put a plug in for all our public colleges and universities in Massachusetts. A while ago, when I was chair of the Joint Committee on Higher Education, I had a conversation with a faculty member who had moved from a private university in Boston to the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And I asked him a question about his students. I said, well, can you tell me what's the difference, or what is the difference you're finding? I didn't actually ask about the students. I said, what's the difference between being at UMass and being at this private university? And then his answer shocked me. He said, well, the students at UMass are hungrier. David talked about Black students doing better and having better outcomes once they have the supports. One of the things that we're seeing is that these students that are coming from more challenging backgrounds really have the drive to be successful and the drive to succeed, and they see the importance in this thing, and therefore they have better results. Massachusetts looks to diversify their workforce, and we know that's critically important to have different experience and different voices. We're also seeing a group of high achieving students come through that pipeline that are really making a difference in Massachusetts. That's my plug for public higher ed.
Excellent.
I'll make one or two other quick comments. When we talk about the population of community colleges, 33% of the students who participate in STEM Starter Academy were non-traditional age students, so age 25 or above. 46% of the students participate part-time. Those are real differences in terms of the community college population. They reflect the realities of students who have families, have jobs, must participate on a part-time basis. Makes it all the more important that services like case management that follow those students on a continuum, make sure we don't lose someone when they're on a part-time process, and we get them through to completion, because Tom's right. These are terrific students with terrific capabilities. They just need the right set of comprehensive supports to help them understand how to engage the system, how to take advantage of all the resources that are available and get to success.
Excellent. And David, before I let you off the hook here, you mentioned both the Summer Bridge and the Transfer Academy program. I wanted to see if there's anything you wanted to add, and then we will kind of conclude the formatted speaking program and kick it over to Rebecca and audience questions.
Only quickly on the Transfer Academy program, that's where we take community college students who are nearing completion of their community college experience, getting ready to make the transfer into a identified program with one of our public four-year institutions. We're working with all of our public four-year institutions. They match up with regional counterparts at the community college level. They create placements, and then it's a very similar set of enroll students in a summer activity. It gets them engaged in the college. It gets them experiencing what the 4-year institutional culture might be like and how that's different from the 2-year. It gets them exposed to all the resources that are available that they can take advantage. So it's similar. It builds off of the experience of our entry-level summer bridge. We now replicate some aspects of that and then do it appropriately for that successful transfer of students from 2-year into 4-year.
Great. Thank you, David. And again, thank you to all of our panelists. And Rebecca, I'm going to kick it over to you, and we'll go to about 11:25, and I will call last question at that point, and we will conclude. But Rebecca?
Thanks, Wade. Actually, at this point, we only have 2 questions, so I'll ask those, and depending on the time, we may open it up to have people raise their hands and ask the questions themselves. The first question I wanted to ask Tom, there was one question directly to you about, is there an online presence of former SSA students for those who are working in the recruitment of data science, for the data science workforce, and an opportunity for them to connect some way?
I'm sorry, can you?
Sorry. Yes, of course. Is there a way for those who are recruiting in the life sciences, data sciences, to connect with those former SSA students?
I actually don't have an answer for that, so I don't really know, but maybe Bob LePage has some. See if you have some.
See as that's directed at SSA, let me take a crack at that. There are contacts. So on the DHE website, you can find the STEM Starter Academy and various documents there. There are listings of all of the SSA coordinators at each one of the community college campuses. I would encourage that any industry partners who might be interested in recruiting students or participating in a variety of ways with the community college, that may be mentoring opportunities. We have really strong mentoring programs, might be internship or research experiences for students. There are a variety of ways that we would love to see the data sciences industry engaging with their local community college partners for a range of needs, from employment through simply participating in the educational experience of those students. And all of those contacts are on the DHE website.
Thank you, David.
David, sorry about that. Actually, related to what you just said, David, there's a question that was posed as well that said, can the speakers talk a bit more about the engagement of the business community in the programs that you discussed? And I would also say, just the role of that businesses could have in supporting some of these efforts. So we can start maybe with Liz.
Sure, definitely at the high school level, that idea of that early exposure to these different fields is really, really important, so that students can start thinking about what they may want to pursue at the post-secondary level. So opportunities such as mentoring, internships, even guest speakers, but I think the strongest are internships and one-to-one mentoring. So business and industry is out there. We definitely encourage you to reach out to provide these opportunities for our students.
Thanks, Liz. Bob, do you want to speak to
Yeah,
this?
I would add that, there is, I could probably put it in the chat, there is, business and industry sometimes asks, well, we'd like to help, but we don't know where to help. And in addition to, as David said, you can get information on the STEM Starter Academies on the DHE website. On the DESE website, there is a mapping tool that allows businesses to see, or individuals to see, where specific types of programs are located in the Commonwealth. And that's a way for them to be able to look and say, I'm interested in collaborating relative to an early college program or an innovation pathway program or a Chapter 74 web program or network program. Sometimes they don't know where to start. If they contact Liz or I or David, we would always be able to or Tom to expedite them in the right direction. But that's a simple tool for them to at least be informed, to get a sense where the footprint. On the higher ed side, quite candidly, the starting point is contacting your local career service office at your college, because there's always a need from that perspective for industry engagement.
And just to add to the Chapter 74, those are our career vocational technical programs that have very robust cooperative education opportunities for students too. So we want to add that onto the internships.
I would add one more thought, that it's critically important for business industry engagement with any of these programs from K-12 through community college, but also as data sciences is relatively new, and partnerships between our four-year colleges, universities, and the community colleges are going to be really important, as many of these jobs will require higher levels of education. Some jobs we expect an associate's degree will fill the bill, but building out the academic programming will be really important. And some of that can be done through research experiences. So we have many of our community college SSA students who participate in research experiences with four-year institutions, as well as work experiences with industry partners. So I think any of our institutions are always eager to build those kinds of relationships.
Thank you. Tom, anything else you would like to add? No? Okay, great. Thank you. No, I think that's very informative. And Ryan Madawar from the Mass Life Sciences Center also mentioned in the chat that there are state subsidized paid internship opportunities in the life sciences industry, and they really work very closely with the companies in our state to make those opportunities available, and they're a fabulous opportunity. We have about 10 more minutes, and so I just wanted to see whether there is anyone who hasn't posted a question in the chat but would like to speak out aloud or provided in the chat. Oh, Liz raised her hand, so let me see if I can unmute her. Liz, go ahead.
Hi, this is Liz.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Liz Zulik. I can't get my video to work, but I'm sorry earlier, I had a little bit of an outburst. I think in my first 11 months, I had no outburst. That was my first time in this meeting. But the A2m Biotechnology Program, it's an NSF funded program that came up earlier. I'm the PI on that grant, and it's been really successful. We are at full capacity now of the grant. So we're serving over 80 students between the associates, bachelor's, and master's level, which is really exciting. And that's all in the biotech space. And I am really interested in thinking about how we can do this in the analytics, computer science space, and building these pathways out. But I guess I would just be, I think, kind of asking these questions about industry partners and the best ways to engage with them. And then thinking about the relationships between public community colleges and private universities, and if that is a pathway that, you know, we're willing to support. I think I'm just curious about. And I think Northeastern, people tend to think it is a really high cost university to attend, but Northeastern, similar to a lot of other local private universities like BU, for example, in their Metropolitan College, we do have kind of a more affordable, flexible arm. And I guess I'd just be curious about kind of thoughts on if, you know, supporting these public-private partnerships, one, and then two, how to get our industry partners more engaged and supportive of these pathways.
So I can talk a little bit about the history of the development of that, because I do think it is, as Liz mentioned, an opportunity. You know, the dialogue about the potential of building a partnership with the community college in Northeastern actually grew out of a previous NSF grant that was around manufacturing. And it had a small portion of it was actually around cybersecurity. And it really was on building partnerships to support GE. It was GE was the lead industry partner. And I think the key to it is getting the leadership together of those organizations and the subject matter experts at seeing it as a strategy, an important regional strategy of developing that workforce. And once you can get the right players around the table, whether it's economic development, education, workforce development, industry associations, then you can start to craft the model that works best. You know, the model in that case was a model that included how to build work-based learning into the strategy that students could earn and continue in the process. That model was a very specific model working for that industry. There's similarly a program that was put in place in Western Mass in partnership with Northeastern, which became a degree completion program in advanced manufacturing. It's an applied advanced manufacturing degree through Northeastern, delivered on the Springfield Technical College campus to support the advanced manufacturing ecosystem with engineers in that region. So I think it's getting those leaders together with the goal of building regional workforce capacity, developing a true pipeline. And I think the important work that Liz and others have, and the president has done, and Kemi Jonas from Northeastern, is think about volume. Because I think that's a key part of thinking about program design is, in their case, they're trying to create a volume of graduates for that region. Often we end up with boutique programs and thinking about how to replicate. And so I think it would be just getting the right people around the room and understanding what assets are out there, like the Bunker Hill capacity now and the Northeastern capacity, and then having a model design to make it work. And the community colleges have done this in other areas like aviation technician, where Cape Cod has worked with various other community colleges to feed into their system for the technician training. So it can be done, it's just getting the right people around the table.
Tom, were you going to say something?
Well, the other issue you raised, or question you raised, is about the cooperation between the public universities and colleges and the privates. And that's something that's really been developing quickly, I think, as we see enrollments going down across the region with dropping populations. There's really been a big interest in that. And I know the community colleges just rolled out this year an agreement with a large number of private colleges and universities throughout New England with agreements, with transfer agreements, to just put it mildly, as well as, you know, the other piece that we do have through the public system is that if you maintain a certain GPA and graduate from community college in Massachusetts, you have automatic acceptance into the State University and the University of Massachusetts system, which also includes some tuition rebate as well. So that's something that's moved quite far, I think, in the last 10 years, that those agreements are in place, and they're continuing to grow with a number of private colleges coming onto that system.
Yeah, there's others examples that are public-private partnerships. So, you know, there's one that was launched in the middle of the pandemic, so I'm not sure it got a lot of visibility, but there's a new partnership to map manufacturing capacity for programs and development of what will become national models around the next generation of manufacturing. And that's a partnership between the community colleges, the vocational schools, and MIT as a partner, along with some of the other higher ed institutions like Bridgewater State, who's been working with them, and Stonehill, who's been working with them. But it's a much more of a scaling and a sustainable practices to support manufacturing with the next generation of credentials. And I think it's a great model that could be, again, as Liz is doing, is saying, how do we try to replicate these models? But that's very much a sector-based strategy to build a workforce. That's a multi-year Department of Defense funded strategy built on scalability. So it is viable to do the same thing for this discipline. I think it's just getting the right people around the table to think about how they can align the systems.
Great. That's wonderful news for this discussion. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to just turn it over to Sarita to give us closing, and also just note that we will have a feedback survey that we will post in the chat. There it is. And we appreciate you taking just a moment or two to give us some feedback on today's panel. Sarita?
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you, Wade, for moderating this panel. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your incredible insights on how we can really work together toward a more diverse data science workforce. And everything we've touched upon today, what it means to create a volume in terms of that diverse pathway, as our panelists have suggested. The really important nature of public-private partnerships, as we've explored in our last panel and today, and we'll continue to in our February and March panels, and what it really means to build a sort of scalable and replicable early stage data science initiative. So thank you again to everyone that's joined us today. I do want to encourage everyone to join our February and March panels that will really round out the series. Again, I want to mention that at the conclusion of this series, our plan is to really bring together a working group that will focus on developing a robust early stage initiative for growing the size and diversity of the data science workforce going forward. And we hope that many of you will stay connected to this initiative and want to contribute to that effort as it evolves in the coming months. So again, stay tuned to our website for a recording of this panel and other information, datascience.edc.org. The evaluation for this panel is in the website. Thank you all for joining us today, and hope to see you at our next panel. Thanks, everyone.